and housekeeping. So as I said, please do ask any questions you may have in the chat and we will answer them as we go. So today we're going to talk about how to get active after a laryngectomy. We have exciting guests here with us today, but we'll start off by reading our disclaimer, which is this is a corporate presentation from ATOS Medical Group. Nothing in this presentation provides any diagnosis, clinical advice, indication, guide, warranty, or guarantee, and nothing in this presentation can substitute individual advice or guidance from a qualified healthcare professional. So with that being done, my name is Daniela. I look a bit different in the picture. That's an old picture of me. I'm a head and neck nurse, so I've done lots of field visits with ATOS in the past. I now manage our nursing team very proudly. And with us today, we have Bill Wilson, which is our larynx lad, and he is someone who had a laryngectomy last year, but we'll talk more about Bill in a little while. And we also have Sam, one of our ATOS clinical educators, and he's also a respiratory physiotherapist. So we have a few people to talk about all getting active things. So to start off, why are we talking about being active and why is activity so important? Because being active will interfere and will have a positive impact in all other areas of our everyday life. So we will reduce the risk of long-term conditions such as heart disease, stroke, diabetes, dementia. Will improve brain function, will boost your confidence, not just your confidence in yourself, but in your body and your ability to do different things. It will improve the quality of your sleep, improve your energy levels, reduce risk of falls and help mobility because your muscles will be stronger, and will increase the sense of general well-being, which then will hopefully have a positive impact in your social interactions and your ability to talk for longer and your ability to voice. There's been a study done by Rogers in 2006 that concluded that the majority of our head and neck patients, our head and neck cancer survivors, do not meet the public health guidelines on exercise. And the results from this study show that only 8.5% of people who had a laryngectomy met the current public health exercise guidelines of 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week. So that's less than 10%. And over half of the people who had a laryngectomy were in fact completely sedentary, which obviously has a huge impact on physical and mental health. So we know that the impact of exercise and activity, you can move on to the next slide, Hannah, it has a strong impact on the quality of life. So research done more recently in 2020, so the RED study was done with 1,700 laryngectomy patients across 9 different countries, and it focused on what impacts quality of life. And the results determined that the pulmonary issues had a strong correlation with most other themes, and it was key in many reported issues. So therefore, the lung health is an underlying cause of many different issues, which cause limitations to the activities of daily life. And most people would, in fact, avoid social activities. So getting fit, staying fit, improving your lung health will hopefully have an impact. And the research shows that it does have an impact on all areas of your life, and it will ultimately improve the quality of life. So I'll just stop talking for a little while and I'll hand over to Sam, who will talk to us about the changes to your breathing after laryngectomy surgery.
Hi, everyone. So if I move on to this next slide here, okay, so there we go. So generally speaking, when sort of linking our breathing into the exercise and things that we do pre and post laryngectomy, our body naturally is really good at adapting the way we breathe and how we breathe to match the needs of what we're trying to do. So for us all, likely I imagine all sitting down at the moment, our breathing is relatively calm and controlled and relaxed. Say we were to get up and start to walk around and start to run around a bit, we'd take slightly deeper breaths and slightly quicker breaths to try and meet the demands that of exercise is putting on our body. And obviously, pre-laryngectomy, our body is able to use our nose and our mouth to manipulate and to improve the condition of the air and things that we breathe to make it as optimal as we can by the time that air gets down into our lungs, where all the gas exchange happens and oxygen goes in and carbon dioxide comes out. And so obviously that just gives us that little bit more flexibility in terms of manipulating our airways to get what we need from it. Obviously, post laryngectomy, obviously our airway has changed, and our trachea is brought to the surface of our neck, where obviously we skip the nose and the nasal cavity and the mouth and all of those sort of structures that are higher up, and the air goes in via our neck. And although our body can still manipulate the airways slightly, obviously with our laryngectomies, we've got obviously our HMEs involved, which is really important for giving our humidification to the air that we breathe. But obviously it does add some differences in terms of breathing resistance and things like that, which we wouldn't necessarily have or think about as having pre-laryngectomy. So like I say, our body's still really good at changing as much as it needs to, but it's in a slightly different fashion post laryngectomy to pre laryngectomy. So we now want to sort of go on to a few other slides where Daniela and myself will sort of chop and change between us in terms of the who's going to be talking about this. But the question that we want to talk about is what does it mean for us to be active? So being active doesn't necessarily always mean going out for a run or going for a really long bike ride or things like that. Generally speaking, it just means moving more and doing that little bit more. And obviously that's recommended by the NHS that we should be generally doing a little bit of activity day in and day out. Whether that be walking sort of down the driveway or walking around the garden, things like that, or even just as simple as getting up to make sort of a cup of tea at home is still activity and is still exercise in one way, shape, or form. And all of that sort of said, it's all very individual to your own capabilities and your own capacity. So exercise is all about perspective and things and activity and keeping that within your sensible limits and things like that.
As well as sorry, as well as doing, that type of increasing your activity levels to do a little bit more. Some people will fancy doing even more. So it may look like moderate activity, which will raise your heart rate and make you breathe faster. So things like walking faster, brisk walking, dancing, pushing a lawnmower around your garden, and then you can go one step further. And we can do vigorous intensity activity, which will make you breathe faster, make you breathe harder, and you will probably get a sweat on, which will include things jogging, running, riding a bike, hiking, and things that will have a higher, vigorous intensity, as the name suggests.
And obviously, so like we were saying, it's about finding the right sort of activity for you, or however that may be. And we've got a nice slide here in terms of a little flow diagram here of trying asking yourselves the questions of what sort of what are your goals and your objectives out of being that little bit more active. And is it a case of you want to move a little bit more, or is it that you want to move a lot more? And then it's then thinking about, do you want to do things together? Do you want to do together with other people, or do you want to do those sort of things by yourself? Because activity is something that we want to try and encourage for people and try and sustain as part of a healthy lifestyle, rather than just being a new thing to do and a new thing to introduce. You do it for a little while and then you stop doing it again. So we want to try and maintain this, and whether that's by yourself or with friends or with family, trying to find the right sort of exercise for you that you enjoy and you find sustainable is really important.
So can everybody hear me? My headset stopped working, so
Yeah.
yeah, can you hear me? Okay, so we can start by lighter activities as we mentioned earlier, and this can be simple things like moving your legs and your knees when you're sitting watching the television. It may be that you will prepare and cook your food. If you're going up a couple of flights of stairs instead of taking the lift, instead of just sitting and watching television or just using the lift all the time. All these little things will count to those 20 minutes a day recommended by the NHS.
And then we move on to obviously the higher intensity activities. Obviously, if at the moment, generally speaking, people are going out walking or doing a bit of stretching or doing bowling, things like that, we can try and sort of up the intensity of that a little bit more and sort of maybe introduce some jogging or some aerobics or some other sort of team-based activities and things like that. And like I say, all of these things will count. These higher intensity activities, generally speaking, we're not suggesting to do those for as long as the shorter, the less intense activities, just in terms of managing energy and managing fitness levels and things like that. But still, obviously, throughout your either daily or weekly routine, these higher intensity exercises can be really helpful.
Okay, so how can you find that support to be more active if this is something that you are looking to do? So in 2020, in that RED study that I mentioned earlier, the people with a laryngectomy found that in order to be more active, there were two main needs. So things that they needed more in order to be able to reach that goal. And the first thing was more air or more oxygen. So people found that they needed to take regular breaks, or if they were using a HME, that they needed to take that out to catch their breath. And they may get winded doing daily physical activities, and they would find that as kind of a barrier to being more active. And the second thing, they found that they needed more confidence. So that also acted as a barrier to try and be more active after a laryngectomy. So they might worry about, oh, what would people think when I have to stop for a breath, or if I start coughing. So those were the main barriers to activity. So based on this study, ATOS then did a lot of work in trying to find answers for these problems. And the answers come in the form of 3 different HMEs. The first one is the Provox Life Protect. Sorry, Anna, can you move on to the next slide? I'm already going ahead. So the first one is the Provox Life Protect, which has a really effective filter against all the airborne particles. So we'll filter more than 98% of all the virus, bacteria, dust, anything in the air. So this would be an answer for if you're traveling, if you're going on public transport, or if you have hay fever and you suffer with allergies and you want that filter in your airways, or if you're gardening, or if you're doing building work. I know Bill has used it. I can see you smiling there. He's used it in the past, and we can talk about that a little bit. And then we have Provox Life Energy. It is HME specifically designed for exercise. So you see those in those icons. We have cycling, gym, jogging. So for those higher intensity exercises, but not necessarily if you go for a walk and you're feeling out of breath with your normal HME. It may be that a Provox Life Energy would be a good alternative to try and get more air through into your lungs. So it has those pores that the air passes through to get into the lungs are bigger. So it is not great for talking with, but it is definitely designed for letting more air in through your HME when you're doing exercise. And then we have Provox Life Go, which is designed for when you're doing more normal things, like you're walking, you're shopping, you're doing your housework, and you just want something that is comfortable to wear, but also if you need a little bit more air or if you need to speak while you're doing things, then you can use Provox Life Go. Hannah, do we have a video to play on this one? Yeah, there we go.
play the
Brilliant.
others if you want, but it should have gone full screen and it didn't.
No, it's okay. We'll move on to the next one because we have the main star of the show. So I'll introduce Bill now, who is someone who has kindly joined us today to talk about his experience about becoming a laryngectomy after having been diagnosed with cancer at the young age of 36. So Bill underwent a total laryngectomy last September, so just 6 months ago, a little bit more, almost 7 months ago. And I mean, I've seen your Instagram, Bill, and the progress you've done in that time is just incredible. You don't look like the same person who's had a laryngectomy. Those pictures where you've just had surgery, you look like a completely different person. So we just would like to hear from you on what that's been like. What was, for you, the main struggle after having had this surgery, and how did you find that motivation to get fit again and get active, get doing things?
Yeah, so I got it once I come out of the surgery, and I felt really good. I say I didn't really have any pain, that kind of thing. I just wanted to set myself some challenges that I know I could push myself. Also, like you were saying earlier, it's like progression. So if you can set the challenges, you can then work towards it. Keeps you going, continuation. But as pre-surgery, I was having trouble breathing due to the cancer growing in the in my larynx, so it closed off the airway. So even post-surgery, I felt a lot better, I felt a lot stronger. But going back in the gym is a completely different experience. Now, I've kind of been in and out of the gym for on and off for years, kind of thing. Always done little bits, but never really continued to keep it going as a lifestyle, which is what I tried to do this time. Try to make it a lifestyle change, something that you can continue to do every day. It doesn't really cost you too much hassle. And I say it doesn't need to be a lot, it just needs to be enough to continue and progress. So yeah, literally 2 weeks after the surgery, I decided to book in 3-week challenge. So at least it gave me something to continue to work to, and it did. The nice thing about after the surgery, it forced me to start slow. So I started really so nice and easy, so things really calmly. So I just started to build. Even like I say, because I've done bits of weightlifting in the past, so it really reduced it down probably by 50% of what I was doing previously. So it's nice to almost like start slowly, and this then enabled me to continue to progress and continue to build, and I don't make it like part of my lifestyle, as opposed to previously I might do 3-4 weeks and just completely exhaust myself and then go back to square one of doing nothing. So, and I'd say it's that thing, like you have them big life changing moments, but you need to decide that you gotta make your life better, your quality of life as well. So with it, like I say, I just knew what I felt from quite early on that your lung health was going to be a big factor going forward. I deal with clients and that every day, so talking, that kind of thing. If it makes it life easier talking, conversations, like you could be having conversations for an hour or so, just discussing people's projects. So being able to continue to talk, not really getting too much interruptions, and as the time goes on, it has got better and better. I say the big benefits of it.
I have to say your voice and your talking is absolutely brilliant, and you're talking like quite continuously and not having to stop for a breath often, which we see with people after laryngectomy a lot of the time. So would you say having had that surgery and having had cancer was a bit of a kick in the bum to get healthy?
Yeah, kick on the backside, get going. I say my job's quite physical anyway, so I've always I'm a builder, so I'm outside a lot of days, that kind of thing. So you're always physically doing stuff. So you've always felt that you had sort of a certain level of fitness, but there's different levels to it, and there's different types. So I'd say the walking, the even just the general conditioning through PTs and things like that, it's all really helped towards just being able to kind of bring back quality of life, and if not improve past what I was previously. Because it took me, so I'd say I had 2 years of diagnosis until diagnosis of all the symptoms and bits and pieces. So it was nice to kind of come out the other side, be able to start knowing that this is where I am, accept it, and then push forward. So now be fitter and healthier than I ever was before.
Yeah, I think acceptance and moving forward is a big part. I think
Yeah.
from having seen a lot of people after laryngectomy surgery, I think that is the first big hurdle of I've had this is me now, I need to accept it in order to be able to move forward. So I'm really happy that you were able to do that quite quickly. How long after surgery did you go back to work?
I was doing emails in the hospital, so I kind of started down.
Oh, you're a workaholic.
Yeah, so but physically, I think I eased myself back in a couple of days a week after about 4 weeks, something like that. But I was probably back full time from about 6 weeks on, 8 weeks on, I'm guessing. So it was a relatively quick process. I was fortunate in the sense that so far I haven't had to have radiotherapy, which is a big part of it. But yeah, just in general, I'd say, yeah, it's got its adaptations. And like you were saying, using the right equipment, like to protect HMEs when you're on site to protect from the dust.
Yeah. I've got a few questions about that, but I've got a question here in the chat from Khalid, who is asking, what has caused your cancer? Do you know?
Bad luck. Don't smoke, don't drink. I couldn't even take a stab at what I think caused it, because the location of my cancer was really deep, which is why it took so long to find. So it was really deep down past the vocal cords, almost in the cartilage. So it doesn't seem like it was an external factor contributing towards it. But so yeah, no one's actually told me this was the reason for it.
Okay, bad luck. So just going back to what you were saying about using the different types of products for each situation, how did you come across that, and how did you kind of find this information yourself? Did you have people in the hospital guiding you through this, finding the different products? How did that happen?
I had they had to send me all the leaflets and that kind of thing to break down in different kind of styles, different types and bits and pieces. So and then another part of my Laryngectomy club that I go to, a couple of them suggested different bits and pieces. And like I say, with Instagram, it's a great community, the Larry community. So just talking to people, that kind of thing they use, like everybody's kind of tried something new, something different. Another guy I'm speaking to, he's doing the IROX in May, and even that, like with the active side of it, trying to find ways that you can get the most oxygen in, the training you can do, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, no, like I say, just using the right product at the right time can make a big difference.
Yeah,
so just the enjoyment of everything, really.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask a question, Bill? Just with the different types of exercise and stuff that you do. I know you say in terms of going to the gym and doing a bit of weights and things like that, versus then you're walking and your more cardiovascular type exercises. How do you find your breathing is particularly different doing either one or two of those exercises or types of exercise?
I'd say the weight workouts, I generally keep it going. So the Pro Life Go, that seems to then enable me to do the weights and that kind of, because it's not as much as you're in short bursts. It doesn't push you to I'd say the cardiovascular level. So then when you're doing like the BT, the conditioning, the like body weight stuff, that kind of stuff, then I'd say then you need to be active, because once you push your lungs to that point, yes, I'd say within my first couple of weeks in the BT, I had to remove the HME to get enough air in, only for like 30 seconds a minute, just to get the air back. But over time, I've tried to force myself to leave it in, so then the lungs become stronger to fight against, I'd say, the oxygen levels that you need is a lot less. That kind of so it improves in your body as you go along. So I'd say kind of just changing it up to make sure you're using the right thing.
And I guess it's just a learning process in terms of what your body is telling you as you're doing it, to know your point of which that you would transition from one to the other, and base your exercises on that, I guess.
That's it, yeah. A lot of time, I'd say, you kind of over time you'll learn yourself which one you need to use for which activity, because I'm trying to push myself to get the challenges and to meet my goals with the challenges. I do probably tend to stay on the lower side. So if I'm going for a walk, heavy walks, that kind of thing, I'll leave the going to try and use my lungs more to make them stronger. Because I say even with just the breathing, the coughing, that kind of thing, if you can have stronger lungs, clear the mucus easier, and that kind of. So it's all about trying to make my lungs as strong as possible. So therefore, everything else kind of then rolls on. Your muscles are better with oxygen, the oxygen levels and that kind of thing. So it works that way.
Thanks.
That goes in line with what Sam was saying earlier about the breathing resistance. So when you're breathing through your through your nose and mouth, you have this kind of all of this that the air needs to pass through in order to get in and out. But then when you're breathing through a hole in your neck, you've literally, if you haven't got a HME, you've got nothing. So there's nothing there to kind of allow your lungs to expand, to push the air out. So I think, you keeping your HME in and making it harder for your lungs, you're building on increasing that resistance and making your lungs expand a bit more. So when I used to see patients in their home, I always used to talk a lot about breathing exercises. So that is where you need to start to kind of build that ability of your lungs to expand again and get more air in. So then when you go out for a walk, you haven't got to stop to take your HME out to catch your breath. So yeah, I think, starting with breathing exercises and then kind of building your activity levels from there. So starting with the lower range of activities, as we mentioned, and then if working yourself up to more vigorous activity is the goal, then, as you said, do it very slow, start very gentle, and I think that is definitely the way forward. So I've seen that you're doing some challenges. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So this Saturday we're doing Snowdon, calling in the warm up to the 3 peaks which we're doing in June. So April 15th we're doing Snowdon, and there's 34 people going. Wow. So it should be a good day out. It's a bit more, like I say, a bit more relaxed than the others, but I say still got to get up to the top of it and get back down, so it ain't gonna be that easy. Then in May we're planning on doing the Surrey 3 peaks, which is about 20 miles in one day. Then June the 10th we're doing the actual 3 peak challenge, so that's Ben Nevis, Scaffold Bike and Snowdon, all within 24 hours. Wow. Which I say will be interesting. I think it's the travelling which is going to be the worst bit, trying to drive from one to the other. So we'll get there. Then July we're doing the 72-hole challenge, golf challenge, so 4 rounds of golf in a day. And then finally I've got High Rocks booked for November the 28th. So
wow,
yeah, so it's to say, it was just kind of like, you always have to book them all before you've done one of them, and that way you can't back out. So
you've got no excuses, like you said, no excuses then. And you're raising money for charity at the same time.
Yeah, we're doing it for the South East Laryngectomy Club and Macmillan. So just awesome. As I say, we'll be splitting it down the middle and sending it out to them. They're both great clubs, great charities that have helped us incredibly over the past 6-7 months. So
yeah,
just me, but family as well. So.
Yeah. So is there, I mean, that is incredible. I haven't had a laryngectomy and I'm in awe of what you're doing. So, thinking of everyone who is looking to get started in their kind of fitness journey, what is the advice that you would give, like from your experience, having had this surgery? What would you say to someone who's looking at you thinking, wow, but where do I start?
I'd say it's just starting slow, because as much as your lungs are still doing the same job, that you've got less resistance. So even though the weightlifting, it becomes a slightly different procedure because you can't hold your breath. So therefore it becomes, I say, where you used to hold your breath to push the weight, that's all changed about now. So it's just starting really, really slow. So low weights, do higher reps. Doesn't matter what it is, weightlifting, just continue to build it. You'll feel your body, just start to accept it. Then you can start pushing a little bit more. Same with the walking, just start slow. we've tried to start like this. Obviously, we've got to go up mountains, so we've started flat, trying to then build it up to more inclines, declines, that kind of thing. I got some really good advice from like BTs and things like that. They were just wary. You kind of work with me slowly. It's nice because they push you enough, but that's probably a bit further than you push yourself a lot of the time. But they know you can do it, and if you can push yourself past that little bit, don't go mad because you'll just end up back at square one, hating it every time.
Yeah.
And there is times you're going to hate it, but you consistently do it, consistently continue to do it. You will see the progression, and especially like I say now, I'm virtually 7 months after. I'd say the transformation from them early days to now, it's not a sprint. It's something that needs to become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So push your body as much as you can, but so slowly build to get to that point, and you will get there. I say just
Yeah.
to do it slowly.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting and really sound advice there. I think, yeah, something for everybody to think about when trying to get back into exercise. So Khalid said after you answered that you didn't know what caused the cancer, it was just bad luck. He said, I still don't know what caused my cancer. Some say from seasickness. I was working on ships, sometimes delivering on tugboats. So, you know, like you, is a little bit unsure of what's caused the cancer. And Shirley said, good luck with the 3 peaks. So Shirley, if you want to follow Bill, if you if you've got an Instagram account, want to create it, you just search for Larynx Lad. It's always a very inspiring to follow what Bill is up to. Hannah, shall we carry on with the presentation? I've got a few more bits to talk about, and then we'll just open up to any questions. If you have any questions and want to post them in the chat, we'll go back to them in a little while. My screen's all blue. I don't know if everyone else's is as well.
I'm back to the slides now. I don't know whether you are as well, Billy.
That's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, let's see if your time is in time.
I mean, this was a slide we ended up putting in to discuss about the gym, but I feel like Bill has kind of covered it to a certain extent, which is obviously great to hear from that perspective and things as well. And so from a physio perspective on this kind of thing, again, would completely reiterate in terms of things such as starting really slow, gradually building yourself up. There's going to be that balance of pushing yourself enough to get some benefit out of things, but not pushing yourself too much to maintain your motivation, which is like those sort of things that Bill said. And it's how much you're willing to go into that uncomfortable zone, because that's the region where you'll find the benefits and you'll find the progress come from. But obviously it's knowing yourself, knowing your body, and especially with obviously the influence of a laryngectomy on things like that, breathing will be the thing which will kind of underpin most of it. So it's a case of keeping things well within your control and gradually building things up, rather than going too hard too soon, everything being really difficult and really challenging, and then struggling from that point. From a being in a gym space, obviously in gym environments and things like that, they can be intimidating and daunting and things at times, but the staff around them, particularly the personal trainers that are around them, generally speaking, all the people who I've spoken to when I go to the gym and things anyway, are more than willing to help, more than willing to lend advice, and they would sort of more than happily answer any questions that you've got. And so they're the sort of people to help to ask you to sort of introduce you into these environments if that's something that you're keen to do. But we obviously, from a physio perspective, so knowing that the gym isn't necessarily for everybody. It could be it's just a case of finding your own source of exercise and source of activity that you enjoy, because you could force yourself to go to the gym for a good few weeks and you could not really like the environment at all, and that's not going to be a sustainable activity exercise program for you if you really don't like it. So it's discussing with friends and family what sort of activities and stuff that you can do if these sorts of things aren't up your street.
Yeah, like Shirley was just saying that she likes to go dancing.
Exactly.
So that's another form of exercise. Going out on walk, cycling, running, boxing as Bill was doing there. Anything that will get your heart rate a little bit faster and make you breathe a little bit faster as well, to work on that ability of your lungs to cope with the challenge. And the big one, I think, it's staying motivated. So I think, you've got to enjoy it to a certain level, and you need to have a goal, I would say. Bill had his surgery and then decided, okay, I'm gonna get healthy because this is, I want to be good enough to enjoy life, right? So we just have to kind of aim to be physically active every day in a way that fits around what we like to do and our own lifestyle. So setting a realistic goal, progress, not perfection. If we think I'm going to start with, I don't know, at least going out for a 10-minute or 20-minute walk if we start with every 2-3 days and then increase the frequency. So set a goal that is realistic for you at the start, and as like Bill said, start slow and then build up on that. And as you feel more confident and you feel happier doing that, then you will feel like you want to do more. And if you want to make it fun, grab a friend, someone who has the same goal as you, and find what you enjoy doing. If you don't enjoy it, then it's not going to be sustainable. As Sam said, we can talk about the gym, but I know a lot of people that really don't like to be in the gym. So it's finding what you enjoy, and then joining a community group or class. You're going with 34 people, was it, done the first challenge? Yeah, so that sounds really fun and something that is really enjoyable instead of just doing something alone. But there may be people out there that prefer to do it alone, and would prefer to do it like that. So find something that you do like to do, and having a good reason, even if it is just to be able to talk for longer, if it is to kind of manage the ability of your lungs to cope with everyday life. It may be that you want to play with your grandkids. It may be that you're struggling with being a little bit low or depressed and you want to do it to try and improve your mental health, and everything will contribute towards that. So just, there's a massive amount of benefits in being and staying active. So whatever works for you, just sticking to it and going for it. Yeah, and then making sure that it fits around your routine. I was just saying to the guys before we started that, I've got a 1-year-old, which makes fitting exercising very difficult. So what I try to do is, instead of driving her down to nursery, I take a walk and make that my, getting her there, getting her back. It's my exercise for the day. And then, being a little bit more reasonable in what I can actually fit into my daily life, because if you're trying to stretch yourself too thin across everything, it's just not going to work. So it needs to fit in to what your life looks like. So yeah, so it may just be as simple as, if you like to watch television, when you're having a break, just walk to the kitchen, go out to the garden, get a cup of tea. If you're living in a flat, every so often try and take the stairs. Or maybe take the stairs to the first floor and then take the lift the rest of the way to start with. So little things like this to try and incorporate the activity into your daily life. Yeah, and then we do have some support available. I mean, we're not personal trainers, or we're not dancing teachers or anything like that, but if you would like to have a little bit more guidance into what's available out there in terms of products to use in different activities, we've got a customer care team. We've got specialist nurses on the phone as well as on the field. And we obviously have our My Life Online events like this one. So if you want to kind of reach out to other people that have kind of same mindset as you, if you want to know about your local community events, laryngectomy clubs, just do reach out, and we always have some sort of database or information that we can pass on to you. And then obviously these are some of the links to the charities that can help in terms of additional resources. And we can provide more information on these if you're interested as well. And I think that is the end of our presentation. If you've got any questions, oh, there's just a question pop in. Do you have any information in regards to snorkels for Larry's? I can take this one. There used to be a snorkel that was done, like a tracheostomy tube that would fit into the stoma that could be used for swimming, but I am certain that has been discontinued now. So they used to do swimming lessons for laryngectomies and tracheostomy patients down in Royal Devon and Exeter. But as far as I know, that's on hold at the moment. And I don't know if there's any developments on that. You were a swimming teacher before all this, Shirley. I'm sure you miss swimming. If ever there is any updates on the snorkel situation, I'm sure there will be information circling about. But we will let you know if there ever is. But at the moment, I don't think there is a solution for people with laryngectomy that want to swim.
No, I think it was an equipment issue. I think the SLT that was doing it before, she was struggling to get the products. So I think there is she's got a list going of names and people. So can maybe get on that if we can find her contact details. But yeah, at the moment, I don't.
Yeah. I know who he is, and she's brilliant. I mean, the work that they've done down in Devon and Exeter for people who want to. Okay, you're on the list, so you're sorted. Brilliant. Any other questions? Oh, yes, sorry. We've received a question before this webinar that reads, why is it when brisk walking, I can't speak through my HME and continue walking at the same time? Have you got any experience of this, Bill? When you're brisk walking, can you still speak?
No, I do. I still struggle to speak when I'm walking uphill, just purely because obviously trying to speak is trying to force air for a tiny little while. So it's almost like holding your breath. So it does become a little bit more difficult to actually talk and walk. But on flat surfaces, I'm normally okay. And same thing, it just comes with lung strength. The more you do it, the more you can talk. It's just a fitness level thing. I haven't actually experienced any malfunctions as such that way kind of thing. It just, I say that the more I've been able to do exercise and that lung strength gets stronger, it's enabled me to talk and walk more and more. So yeah, actual malfunctions, I've not had problems with that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. So when you're trying to speak, the air needs to go through a very tiny little tunnel, which is your voice prosthesis, and it may be that, you know, when you're walking, trying to walk and trying to speak, it will be a challenge, especially when you're brisk walking or going uphill. So I think that may be the issue there. Any other questions?
I can turn some mics on if anyone wants to ask a question as well. Oh, all quiet. Just chat to Bill some more.
So will you be doing lots of training in the next month, Bill?
Yeah, it's pretty intense kind of thing. Just because we're doing such a range of different challenges, I've not tried to so that I could get as many people involved as possible. That's why I tried to spread it out between the walking, the golf, the high rocks, and them kind of things. So we can get lots of people involved. Is that? So I'm trying to keep it as a steady, a bit of everything kind of thing. So like I say, every Sunday we try and go out for between an 8 and 10 mile walk. sadly, as I say, that was my first ever kickboxing lesson. So hopefully it's not going to continue. But so yeah, so it's just a case of trying to like sort of keep that. It's all like different movements, different pressures on your lungs. Then you're just kind of building up. So that's kind of a bit of conditioning. I do BT training twice a week. So that's more towards the IVOX end of it. So just pushing you a little bit further every week, trying to. And I'd say it does get hard. Sometimes you feel like you're suffocating, but it's just, as I say, in the long term, it's going to be beneficial. You're going to get there. So, and I also play football on a Friday night, so it's kind of trying to keep me the broad spectrum as I can. So your health is kind of everywhere, you know. So I think, let's say, if you kind of stick to one thing, you're bored. I'd say you can kind of keep those little things going. Then you kind of, even if you do have to cut something out, you can still keep your favourites, the things that you tried. Like I say, I've never done kickboxing before in my life, but when the first time, loved it. So and then new things. So it's just kind of like, like I say, kick up the backside. You kind of go, okay, say yes to a lot of things, give them a go. If it don't work out, it don't work out. But at least you can say, I don't like doing that, rather than going and saying, I'll never give it a go. So trying to push forward a little bit, really.
Got Mohammed has raised his hand. Have you got a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, really clearly.
Yes, yesterday I have 2 appointments at different periods. I found that I was active 1 hour and 15 minutes, and it was about 4.2 kilometer. I lost 179 calories. Is this a positive step or negative?
So you had I got the part that you lost 179 calories. And how long did you do the exercise for?
I do it about 1 hour and 15 minutes.
And was this
Walking?
Yeah, I mean the calories. Was this on a machine? Was this on the treadmill?
No, when I'm walking from place to another place.
Okay. I think we're going into the realm of fitness tracking, which isn't 100% accurate a lot of the time. So the amount of calories that you use and the calculations that they will do on those fitness trackers like the watches and everything are usually related to your heart rate. So correct me if I'm wrong, Sam and Bill, but this is what I understand of them. And the higher your heart rate, the watch will then decide that you've exercised more, so use more calories, but it doesn't always keep track accurately of your heart rate. So it's more like an estimate of how much you've worked out. But it's hard to say whether it's accurate or not. It's more reliable if you think of how hard it felt for you. So if you walked for an hour and 15 minutes and found it easy, then maybe you can walk for longer or you can walk faster, and that is the sort of progress that you will do. I think it's a good idea to use the fitness trackers and the watches to kind of have an idea. But I think your sense of, was that easy or was that hard? It's probably a little bit better. I'll let Sam pitch in on this one because he's the physio.
I'd just say in terms of the fitness trackers and things like that, for me, they monitor so many different things these days, which you can use to gauge how effective your exercise was for you or not. And the calorie tracking is often one which people focus on a lot if they're trying to like lose weight or gain weight and things like that in relation to that. But in terms of the actual exercise, the things which I'd probably focus on a bit more is the duration of time you're doing the exercise. And like Daniela was saying, is that how is it making you feel at the end of doing that exercise? So that if you were to go and do that exercise again, if you were to do it for the same amount of time, would you feel the same way? You could scale it on a scale of 0 to 10 or 0 to 20 or something like that to give yourself an idea of how you feel, so that if you were to do that same thing again, that would then be your indication of whether you are getting better or not. But like I say, if calories are something that you've tracked within your daily life normally anyway, then it's another measure of your exercise, really.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Anything to add, Bill?
Yeah, I'd say so. Don't try not to concentrate too much on calories. It's more about how you feel. Like I say, if you can push yourself that little bit more every time, you'll feel it in the middle of one. You're not going to feel it from one day to the next, but you'll know in 2 months' time, you'll look back and you'll realise how far you've actually come from doing it and the benefits of it, and then hopefully that'll then play into the continuation, keep it going, consistency, keep it going, and you know you're going to have that better quality of life.
Brilliant. Thank you. And we've got George, you've got your hand up. You've got a question?
You might need to unmute, George.
Click on the microphone button.
There we are. How's that sound?
Can hear you.
Sounds good.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Right. It's great what you've done, Bill. Just to give you a bit of more confidence. I had my laryngectomy 29 years ago. Now, I did a bit of running before I had my laryngectomy, and since then, I've continued running. I'm now 82 years of age, and there's absolutely no doubt that keeping fit makes a big difference to your overall health. It's quite interesting that you're doing weights as well. I do a bit of weights as well, and there's absolutely. I just say to you, keep doing what you're doing, and since what I will say is that since the HME has come along, that has made a big difference. Before you used to have to use Buchanan bibs, but the HME makes a great difference to your breathing.
Brilliant. It makes me very happy to hear that, because we talk about it. We don't really, we know of the research, but we don't really know what it feels like or what it's like. So hearing someone like you, George, giving that testimonial, it kind of gives us reassurance that we're saying the right thing and ATOS is doing the right thing, which is great.
Well, I've got 29 years experience, so I can assure you it has made a huge difference.
Yeah. Your opinion bears a lot of weight in this, for sure.
It could be doing me out of a job, George.
How are you at running, Bill? Have you tried it? Is it?
It's my one thing that I am just not built for. Let's put it that way. I've got to do it because in the high rocks there's a kilometre to run between each event, so I've got to get me a feet on the footpaths and get going with it. But I get it walking out of the way first and work my way up to that one. But yeah, I'd say there's more. I'd say the running, keeping your lungs going, and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's going to stand me in good stead for the next 29 years. I'll take that.
Yeah.
And run with it.
Thank you, George. That was brilliant input.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any comments? Any advice?
It's gone all quiet on the chat.
Yeah. Because if there isn't anything else, then we can finish. I would like to say a massive thank you to Bill for joining us today and giving us your experience of all the great things that you've been doing. It is truly an inspiration for everybody, not just for people who had a laryngectomy, but for myself and everyone else. And thank you for the awareness that you're raising for people with an external with laryngectomy. I think there's still a lot of work to be done to kind of make people aware that this is something that can happen. It isn't, as you said earlier, it isn't because you've smoked or because you drank a lot. It is sometimes it may just happen. It may just be bad luck. But that is not a sentence. You can still have a fulfilling life like you're having, and that is brilliant. It's brilliant to see, and it's such an inspiration. So thank you for the work that you're doing. It really does mean a lot.
I appreciate you having me on just to try and spread the word and
Thank you.
Share the story. So thank you.
No worries. And thank you, Sam, as well, for joining us today. A little bit short notice, but I think makes things a little bit more interesting. And if no one else has any other questions or comments, can end this webinar. It's been a real pleasure and a privilege to be here with you guys today. So thank you for joining us. And we're here for whatever you need. So I hope you have the rest of a good week. And see you all soon.